Yeah.
It would be quite a story if he comes in. Now, he would have to play pretty well to get continued opportunity, right? Like he's got 4 weeks here, probably get what, 6 starts, 5 starts?
It's way too early for Brad Treliving or Craig Berube, Brendan Shanahan, whoever wants to stick their 2 cents in it to forecast what anything can look like. It's just
Let's
it's
see.
balls in the air,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. And who knows how they kind of fall between now and March.
Mhm.
But I do believe that if they can get to a point where they're all healthy, then that management team will have some options. And one of those options could be that Matt Murray could be playing so well that you may want to flip him. There might be a team out there that could say, I need experience to try to get me into a spot. And I mean,
Have you-
offhand, I can't tell you what that team is, but it would probably have to be in the West somehow. If someone's still in a race that may have a goalie go down or something.
Could Utah, could St. Louis,
Who knows what the scenario is?
Colorado may need a fifth one.
Or on the other hand, you can sit there and go, okay, since the summer, Wall's been hurt. Stolarz has been hurt. Murray's been hurt because a week and a half ago he was out.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't take any chances here. I need them all.
I think that's the most likely answer. Like, I don't think, if you think he's your best option past Stolarz and Wall, I don't think getting a third rounder for Matt Murray does you any good in the year you're trying to win a cup here.
It all depends again. Can you use the third rounder to flip it if you need it or protect yourself a little bit down the road? I don't know.
Yeah.
They're assets, though.
Yeah.
It's dealing from a position of strength, which is nice.
Yeah, you
for
want
them.
everyone to be good so you can have options, for sure.
But, I mean, you have to, if you're carrying a third goalie, right, then, because he would have to go, if he went back down, he'd have to clear waivers again, right? Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. Surely. Yeah, he's like a
I'm
pro
not
of a
100%
zillion games.
I'm not a capologist here, but it feels like he would have to clear again to go back down. So that's one that if you're going to carry a third goalie, the trade option, we're getting so far ahead of ourselves here, but that seems like it would be more likely. But anyways.
It's like talking with my wife here.
What?
Ten steps ahead.
I'm making plans down the road here, boys. What do you want from me?
Yeah, I think, well, we do believe that he's going to be up here for the next month,
For sure.
right?
Yeah. I think unless he gets hurt, right, then it would be Hildeby again. But it feels like they're going to send Hildeby down there, let him in Akimov split time, and away you go.
So he's making $875 right now, Murray.
Okay. You want to move to the blue line here because we're going to see some major changes. What do you want to say before we go to the blue line?
I thought we should maybe talk about Matthews.
Okay. All right. You think that's a developing story?
Well, he didn't practice today, and it was
Not wildly uncommon
No.
in morning skates.
but Luke, of course, asked Berube about it, and this was Berube's answer. Clip 4, please, Derek.
It's tough. I mean, he's fighting through it, and he's doing, he's doing a pretty good job out there on the ice. Like, he's producing and playing hard and working, and we just got to manage it. It'll get better. We just got to manage it though, and that's why he's off the ice today.
Yeah. See, he kind of opened himself up a little bit there.
Manage it.
Manage it. Fight through it. Hey, Chief, what's the it?
Yeah.
What's the it?
I said
you
that
want to
in our-
mention it twice?
Like, I think
Tell us what it is.
I think everyone in the league at this point assumes it's something back related. So let's just talk about what it is so people can have some understanding what we're talking about here.
I have a few thoughts on this. If you showed some of your best hockey, and we'll joke about this all the time without him playing, like if he's not right and time off and like be working off ice and not playing these games is going to make him better for the end of the year. Why is he fighting through these games in December where he doesn't look like, he looks like 60% of himself right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like if he's truly still hurt and still fighting through this, it makes no sense to me.
I think it's mostly concerning that he has taken what appears to be the most elaborate step you can make outside of surgery, which is traveling to another continent to see a doctor who can do things we can't do here. Like, we're at a pretty desperate stage, and it didn't work. He looks exactly like he looked to me before he went to Germany.
Yeah.
I don't see any difference. So it didn't work, and what's the next option? Manage it. They play over the next 6 weeks. They play, just checking, 400 games. Like what?
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to
Yeah.
manage that.
See, I'm totally on board with you guys. When I hear that he's fighting through it,
What are we doing?
why does he need on a Friday night,
Against the worst team in the East.
like a couple of days away from Christmas, need to fight through against a team that hasn't won a game since, a gazillion years ago?
We got Domi's back, McMahon's back. Like, you're pretty healthy otherwise.
If I hear fighting through it, night off,
Yeah.
Minton back up.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like they need to go
So-
with this route.
And then this kind of lends to your point is, if you've already tried the rest for 9 games in 3.5 weeks and that didn't work, then we're going to go through the fighting through it stage
Yeah.
now, because rest didn't work.
You said
so
it,
now,
it'll
now
get
we're
better.
going to just kind of fight through it.
Treatment didn't help. What if not treating it helps?
Yeah, what if the opposite of treating it?
What if fighting through it could help?
Playing every single night. That'll help it.
With guys who know you're kind of feeling it a little bit.
Yeah, and that goal against Dallas, the first one where he's on the backside of, I forget who it was. Was it Sam Steele that ends up scoring it?
Yeah.
It's closer to the end of the shift. I understand it, but like the
I didn't
stride,
like it.
it's just
I didn't like his route.
stiff.
What was the first game back? Someone drilled him that didn't have the puck. Was it Sandheim or someone on
no,
Philly
it
or
was
something?
no, it was on. Was it on the Blackhawks? Connor Murphy.
Murphy.
Got him behind the net.
Drilled him
Yeah.
early. It's like, didn't look good.
So, the two ways Craig Berube could have gone about this is to completely deny anything's
He's
wrong
fine.
at all,
He's
right? He's
fine.
just working on his timing and just getting his confidence back. But he went totally the other way, as if it was an admission of, we see what you see.
Mhm.
He's not all there. Thus, the fighting through it, thus the managing it. And
Part of that,
there's that in itself is concerning.
but part of that could be helping him out. Like,
So it takes him off the hook a little
well,
bit.
everyone can see that he's not, and if he is truly, he's in pain and he's trying to play for the team and whatever. I'm sure they're like, God, we can't have people thinking he's just dogging it or something. So maybe it is an effort to help him out
that's
a
a
little
fair.
bit.
That's
Yep.
fair. That is
Yeah.
fair. That it helps alleviate the. We're not denying that he's not at the top of his game, and he's not looking like the player that we believe he should be, or
Mhm.
we all believe that he should be. So maybe that helps him take pressure off himself to say, they know I'm not 100%. The coach is admitting, and then if there's another night like the last few that we've seen, it'd be like, hey, no, he's managing through it. He's fighting through it.
Or maybe the simplest explanation is usually true, and it's that they haven't put much thought into the PR part of it, and he just went out and answered some questions, which is an option too.
I feel like they might have had a conversation, but you may be right.
Yeah, just
And we're heading towards here or something. I know it's still December, but they got a bunch of games coming up here, and playing hockey all the time doesn't make your back feel better. I'm assuming it's back again here. I'm just throwing that out there.
I don't know
Alleged
how
back.
we cannot
Yeah.
assume it's
But-
something else,
I got to tell you,
right?
the Four Nations face-off conversation's already popping up, and it's like every Leaf fan. No, I'm not. I sent out a tweet about it earlier today, and everybody's saying Four Nation face-off, Four Nation face-off. Like, if we're at this similar point at the end of January, he can't play.
Mhm.
Like, he can't. If the Leafs are going to have to step in here. I know it's an NHL ran event. I know he's a face of one of the big teams. Like, I understand all that. But if he is fighting through this, his back is effed up or whatever it is,
no doubt.
cannot play in that tournament.
No, say you have
Flat out.
You have a rare opportunity. The NHL almost never
2
offers
full weeks.
2 weeks in the middle of the season before deadline to just rest.
This isn't the Olympics.
Do you want to win a Stanley Cup or whatever? What are they handing out for these?
The inaugural
Cereal
Four Nations
bowls?
face-off presented by Rogers. Like, just,
Yeah.
Leafs facing center crisis amid injuries, eyeing trade market for solutions. As the Toronto Maple Leafs battle through a growing injury list and a suspension, their lack of depth at the center position has become a glaring issue. According to Sportsnet's Elliotte Friedman in his latest 32 Thoughts article, the Leafs are among the teams exploring trade options to bolster their lineup. This effort is coming amid increasing competition from teams like the Chicago Blackhawks and Nashville Predators, who have also set their sights on improving their center depth. Friedman didn't mince words about the Leafs' predicament. The teams currently focusing on centers, including Chicago and Nashville, must consider when others will enter the market. Toronto will undoubtedly be one of those teams, he wrote. While the Blackhawks and Predators may have an edge in terms of cap space and assets, the Leafs remain a team to watch as the season progresses. The Leafs situation is urgent, with up to 7 forwards currently unavailable due to injury or suspension. Ryan Reeves is serving a 5-game suspension, while key players like Auston Matthews, upper body, Matthew Knies, upper body, Kaye Jarnkrok, groin/sports hernia, David Kampf, lower body, Max Domi, lower body, and Max Pacioretty, lower body, are all sidelined. The team has even considered temporarily shifting Mitch Marner to the center position, highlighting the severity of their depth issues. This isn't just a short-term concern for the Leafs. Depth at center has been a persistent challenge for the team, and while stopgap solutions like Marner could help in the interim, the front office appears keen to explore longer-term fixes. For fans of the blue and white, this has been a recurring theme. The Leafs' center depth often becomes a problem at the worst possible times. James Myrtle of The Athletic recently added more fuel to the speculation, naming several potential trade targets who could help the Leafs address their issues. Among them is Ryan O'Reilly, a familiar name for Toronto fans. O'Reilly, who signed a 4-year, $18 million deal with Nashville in 2023, might be a trade candidate if the Predators' underwhelming start to the season, 6-11-3, 31st in the league, prompts a rebuild. However, his steep price tag and history with the Leafs, including rejecting a free agency offer less than 2 years ago, make this a complex and potentially unlikely move. Other names mentioned by Myrtle include former Leaf Nazem Kadri, currently with Calgary, as well as players like Michael Granlund, Nick Jugstad, Brock Nelson, Yanni Gourde, Trent Frederic, Radek Faksa, and Sean Kuraly. While some of these options seem more plausible than others, it's clear that general manager Brad Treliving will need to get creative to find the right piece without mortgaging the team's future. Cap space remains one of the biggest obstacles for the Leafs. Unlike teams like Chicago and Nashville, which have more flexibility and assets, Toronto is walking a financial tightrope. As Friedman noted, competition will intensify as cap-constrained teams strive to create room. For the Leafs, that could mean waiting for the market to develop further, a risky move given their current needs. The situation also highlights the Leafs' ongoing struggle to build a roster that can withstand the grueling nature of an NHL season. Injuries are an inevitability in hockey, but Toronto's current predicament underscores the importance of depth, a quality the team has struggled to consistently maintain. Looking back on recent years, the Leafs have often leaned heavily on their star players, particularly Matthews, Marner, and William Nylander. While these players have delivered in spades, the lack of reliable depth options has left the team vulnerable in critical moments. The current crisis at center is merely the latest example of this recurring issue. Some fans have called for more aggressive moves from Treliving, arguing that now is the time to strike while the team's core is in its prime. Others, however, are more cautious, pointing to the dangers of overpaying for short-term fixes. Striking the right balance will be key, especially as the Leafs aim to keep their championship window open. Despite the challenges, there's no denying that Toronto has the talent to be a contender, provided they can patch up their lineup. The ongoing rumors and speculation surrounding potential trades show that the Leafs are at least exploring every avenue to strengthen their roster. For fans of the blue and white, this moment feels like a pivotal point in the season. With a lineup ravaged by injuries and a tough schedule ahead, the Leafs must act decisively to avoid falling behind in the standings. The addition of a dependable center could be the difference between weathering the storm or watching another season slip away. Whether it's O'Reilly, Kadri, or another surprise name, one thing is certain: the Leafs are under pressure to deliver. And for a fan base as passionate and loyal as Toronto's, there's no room for excuses. The time to act is now, and Leafs Nation is watching closely. As the trade deadline approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Treliving pull off a move that solidifies the Leafs' status as a contender, or will the search for center depth become yet another chapter in the team's long history of what-ifs? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, it's never boring in Leafs land. As the Maple Leafs navigate this critical juncture, their fan base remains as vocal as ever. Toronto is a city that breathes hockey, and the pressure on Brad Treliving to make the right moves is immense. Every decision he makes or doesn't make will be scrutinized, from talk radio to social media, where Leafs Nation is already debating the merits of the various names being floated as potential trade targets. Among the louder debates is whether the team should prioritize a high-profile acquisition like Ryan O'Reilly or Nazem Kadri, or focus on a lower-cost, reliable center who can fill a supporting role without costing too many future assets. While O'Reilly's leadership and playoff experience make him an attractive option, his contract and recent history with the Leafs add layers of complexity to any potential reunion. Similarly, Kadri's gritty, two-way playstyle remains a fan favorite, but his cap hit and availability might render him an unrealistic target. Another factor complicating the Leafs situation is their tight salary cap. While Chicago and Nashville can make moves with relative ease due to their financial flexibility, Toronto must navigate a labyrinth of constraints to make any trade work. This likely means including salary retention or moving existing contracts to make room, which could drive up the cost of any potential deal. The question then becomes, how much are the Leafs willing to sacrifice to address their immediate needs? One potential trade partner generating buzz is the Seattle Kraken. Yanni Gourde, a dependable two-way center, has been mentioned as a possible target. Gourde's versatility and championship pedigree from his time with Tampa Bay make him an appealing option. Seattle, however, is in playoff contention and may not be inclined to part with a key piece unless the Leafs can provide a substantial return. Another intriguing name is Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders. Nelson is a consistent scorer and reliable faceoff-man, qualities that would undoubtedly bolster Toronto's center depth. However, the Islanders are notoriously cautious when it comes to trades, and prying Nelson away would likely require a significant package, including picks or prospects that the Leafs may be hesitant to part with. For all the trade talk, some analysts believe the solution might come from within. Sheldon Keefe has shown a willingness to experiment with his lineup, and players like Pontus Holmberg or Fraser Minton could be given an opportunity to step up. While relying on less experienced players carries risks, it might be the Leafs' only option if the trade market proves too costly or slow to develop. Adding to the Leafs' urgency is the timing. The Atlantic Division remains one of the toughest in the league, with teams like Boston, Florida, and Tampa Bay continuing to dominate. Any prolonged slump could see Toronto slip further down the standings, putting their playoff hopes in jeopardy. For a team with Stanley Cup aspirations, failing to address their weaknesses could have catastrophic consequences. Brad Treliving's history as a general manager suggests he's not afraid to make bold moves. His time with the Calgary Flames was marked by blockbuster trades, including the acquisition of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar in the Matthew Tkachuk deal. Leafs fans hope he brings that same decisiveness to Toronto, especially as the trade deadline looms. Beyond the immediate need for a center, this situation underscores a broader issue with the Leafs roster construction. Depth has been a perennial concern, and while Toronto boasts some of the league's top-end talent, their reliance on a handful of stars has left them vulnerable in moments like this. Moving forward, addressing this imbalance must be a priority for the front office if the team is to achieve sustained success. As the Leafs head into a critical stretch of the season, the next few weeks could define their trajectory.